Picture this. You're on a boat, open ocean. The water is dark blue, the kind of blue that tells you there's nothing beneath you for thousands of feet. You drop a fishing line and wait, and then something brushes the hull. Something big. Now, your brain immediately goes to sharks, maybe even a great white, maybe a whale, and you tell yourself it's probably nothing, right? But there's a question that lives in the back of every human mind who has ever looked out of the ocean and felt small. What if something survived down there that we don't know about? What if the largest, most powerful predator that ever lived, a shark the size of a city bus, with a bite force 3 times stronger than a T-Rex, never actually died? What if the Megalodon was actually out there? Scientists say no. They're almost certain. Almost. Before we get into whether or not it still exists, let's talk about what the Megalodon actually was, because most people's picture of it is completely wrong. You've probably seen it in the movies. Basically a giant great white shark, stocky, gray, aggressive, chasing submarines. That image is outdated. A 2025 study written by 29 fossil shark experts rebuilt the Megalodon from scratch using its vertebral columns and comparing proportions across 165 species of living and extinct sharks. The conclusion: Megalodon wasn't built like a great white at all. It was longer and more streamlined, closer to a lemon shark in body shape, and it could have reached up to 80 feet long. 80 feet. That's 2 school buses end to end. A creature weighing up to 94 tons, moving through the prehistoric ocean. Its jaw spanned 11 feet wide. It had 276 teeth arranged in rows, each one of them up to 7 inches long, almost 3 times the size of the great whites. And its bite force, scientists calculate up to 40,000 pounds of pressure. For comparison, a T-Rex clocked in at around 12,000. The Megalodon could bite through a whale's ribcage like it was cardboard. And that's exactly what it did. Fossilized whale bones have been found with Megalodon teeth still embedded in them, snapped off mid-feeding frenzy, preserved for millions of years. We found whale bones with slash marks that matched the same serration patterns of Megalodon teeth. This thing didn't just eat whales, it hunted them. Strategically, scientists believed it would target the flippers and tails first, cripple the animal, make escape impossible, and then move on. The ocean's apex predators for 20 million years. And then, about 3.6 million years ago, it vanished. This is where it gets genuinely interesting, because nobody fully knows this. The leading theory is a perfect storm of catastrophe hitting all at once. The climate was shifting, oceans were cooling, and as the water got colder, the Megalodon's prey, massive baleen whales, began migrating toward polar regions that the Megalodon, a warm water species, couldn't follow. Its supply chains was literally moving out of range. At the same time, the ocean was changing in another way. Sea levels were dropping, and the Megalodon didn't just live in the open ocean, it raised its young in shallow coastal lagoons, protected warm water nurseries where juvenile sharks can grow safely. As sea levels fell, those nurseries shrank and disappeared. Baby Megalodons had nowhere safe to grow up. And then, as if the climate turning against it wasn't enough, a new competitor emerged, the great white shark. 1/3 of the size of a Megalodon, faster, more agile, warm-blooded enough to survive in colder water. Great whites can go where Megalodons couldn't, hunt prey that Megalodons were too large and slow to catch. But they were doing it more efficiently, and along the great whites came the ancient killer sperm whales, massive predators that hunted in packs, which a solitary Megalodon stood little chance against. The food ran out, the nurseries disappeared, and the competition arrived. In less than 1 million years, an evolutionary blink, the greatest predator the ocean has ever produced was gone. Or was it? The coelacanth, a fish scientists believed that had been extinct for 66 million years, was found alive and swimming off the coast of South Africa in 1938, just casually existing in the waters we thought we knew. A living fossil, proof that the ocean can hide things from us for an incomprehensible stretch of time. And consider this. The giant squid, a creature that grows up to 45 feet long, wasn't photographed alive in its natural habitat until 2004. For centuries, it was considered a sea monster's myth, Sailor stories, fiction, and then we found one, a real one, in an ocean we share with it every single day. So the uncomfortable question is if a 45-foot squid can hide from us for all of recorded human history, why not a shark? Here's the part that ruins the dream, and it's pretty airtight. The Megalodon had one enormous unavoidable problem that no deep ocean trench can solve. It needed to eat constantly. A 94-ton warm water predator doesn't survive on scraps. Scientists estimate that the Megalodon needed to consume roughly 2,500 pounds of food per day to sustain its body. A Megalodon living in the deep ocean would be like putting a lion in the middle of the Sahara Desert and asking it to thrive. The food simply isn't there. And there are the teeth. Sharks shed teeth constantly, every 1 to 2 weeks, for their entire lives. A Megalodon would have to go through tens of thousands of teeth over a lifetime. If a Megalodon were alive today, fresh unfossilized teeth would be washing up on beaches around the world on a daily basis. Fishermen would be pulling them up. Scientists would be finding them in sediment cores. But let's do this anyway, just for a moment. What if one survived? Not a population, not a breeding colony lurking beneath the Pacific, just one. An ancient, solitary, impossible old thing moving through the deep, dark water. Too slow to hunt anymore, living on whatever it can find. The last of its kind in an ocean that has long since moved on without it. What would that even look like? Scientists say if a megalodon still existed at full size, it would be leaving evidence everywhere. Bite marks, shed teeth, disrupted ecosystems. But what about one that had adapted, slowed its metabolism to near nothing, descended into depths no submersible has reached, survived not by thriving but by barely existing? It's biologically implausible, but the ocean is 361 million square kilometers. We've looked at 5% of it. 5. The honest answer, the scientists themselves quietly acknowledge, is that we can say with very high confidence that the megalodon is gone, but we cannot say it with absolute certainty, because absolute certainty requires complete knowledge, and our knowledge of the deep ocean is so incomplete that it barely qualifies as a sketch. The megalodon is almost certainly extinct. It ran out of food, its nurseries vanished, the ocean got colder and its prey got faster. It dominated for 20 million years, longer than most species last, and then the world changed faster than it could. That's the science, that's what the evidence says, but the ocean keeps its secrets in a way that nothing else on Earth does. It kept the coelacanth for 66 million years. It hid the giant squid for all of recorded history. It still makes sounds we can't explain and shelters species we haven't named. So every time you're at the beach, standing at the waterline, looking out at the horizon where the water gets dark and deep and nothing is visible beneath the surface, you're not really afraid of what's out there. You're afraid of what might be. And the ocean has never once promised you it's empty.